Hello, everyone. I'm Olga Mack, and today we're going to have a fantastic conversation about legal design and legal communication with somebody who I deeply admire. I've been very much thinking, how do we become more impactful as in-house leaders? And how do we, deliver information and insights that are actionable, exciting, provide value, and ultimately really help the organizations that we lead. And today's guest really is onto something. I will admittedly say I'm his groupie. I love what he does. And so, Stanley, welcome to the Notes to My Legal Self, LinkedIn Live. Everyone say hello to Stanley. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Olga, for that awesome introduction. So, hi, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. So my name is Stanley Lui. I work for a company called TI Auto Fluid Systems. I'm the legal director for the Asia Pacific region. So the company, what it does is it basically manufactures something like this. So the process, it turns something like this into something like this. If you open the hood of a car, you probably find some tubes. Most likely it's created by TI Fluid Systems. And besides that, we also make fuel tanks. Just a little bit of background about myself in terms of my career. Before I joined TI Fluid Systems, I worked for a company called Hilti. So they make power tools. So that's construction. So I went from construction. Actually, before construction, I was in oral construction, so dealing with dental implants and things. And then before that, I worked for a security company, not banking security, but physical security. So that deals with access panels, fire sprinklers, and armor trucks. I also worked briefly in apparel and as well as shipping management. So, that's in a nutshell, the past 20 years, a pretty vast, kind of different industry, but I've always been working in-house.
Very impressive in-house career. You went from law school to in-house, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I went from law school to in-house, correct. Well, I did a little bit. Yeah, I did a little bit of a law firm first, but then I found out that's not really my cup of tea.
I see. You had an indiscretion there somewhere. Gotcha.
Yes.
Let's talk about white hat guys.
Sure.
I actually want to talk quite a lot about it because I find very interesting when in-house lawyers do things creatively and do things on the side and explore their full potential. And sometimes their jobs are not really allowing them to explore their full potential. So they get what I call a mistress on the side. I did that, and I highly recommend it. You don't always look for everything you ever want in one job. You kind of supplement. I really recommend that route before quitting your job. But tell us about the white guys.
The white hat guys, yes. So the white hat guys, I started in 2017, and that was really, I'm kind of, you can say at a crossroad where I've been doing a lot of legal and compliance training, and I started back in 2008, you can say, and it's always a deck of PowerPoints passed to me from HQ, and I just have to deliver it, and I just feel like I can do a better job. There's a better way to communicate something that is, I think, inherently not very interesting. But we can definitely make it more interesting. So one year in 2014, it was actually I don't have it with me there, but this is kind of something that I created with through white hat guys with another person that I met in a legal conference. Well, this is actually a code of conduct, but instead of putting on paper, you have the code of conduct on a live frame. So it's kind of why we use a live frame. The idea behind it is that we feel like the frontline sales or marketing people, they have to go out there to the high-end top PCs. But if they equip themselves with the code of conduct, so they won't sink. So this is the idea. It's like whenever they're kind of lost, don't know where to, kind of having some doubts as to how to proceed, they can refer to some of the principles on the live frame, and then they can do things compliantly.
So what I hear you say is that there's a design problem in the way we deliver important information because It doesn't excite people to not even comply, but to actually learn. Tell me more when you talk about the sticky messages. What exactly do you mean by that? And then what steps have helped to make it more sticky?
Well, I think we are pretty good at putting words on paper, but that's also sometimes it's a double-edged sword. It's also hurt us because when you are talking to frontline people, they're most critical. What they really need to know is, okay, what's in it for me? I mean, come on, just cut to the chase, right? So I try to make the message stick. Is try to capture the keywords. So like last thing that I did for creating sticky messages is I put some of the keywords on fry-shaped steaks, and then and then along with it, the title. For example, let's say antitrust, for example, and then I would have the matching keywords with antitrust, and then kind of match them together and create a bunch of fries. Stick it together in a box, so they can do a little bit of matching game. So I know it's not something very sophisticated, but actually in doing so, they could make the association, and therefore creating some sort of message stickiness. It's like they're kind of learning by playing. There's a lot of gamification going on too. And I really do find if you can kind of make it a little bit more kind of not very your typical legal and compliance, but throw in little life, maybe elements, right, in your day-to-day life, like fries, for example, and just make a matching game out of it, and people would retain the information much better. Yes.
I love those messages. So physical objects that people can touch and maybe hang on the wall, so they actually have those takeaways. I saw a lot of simplification of information, so it's not walls of text, but a few words, bullet points to really take away, be able to answer, the question, what's in it for me? Because ultimately, that's what every human is searching. And I love this one, the gamification. Even simple games that are sort of allow people to interact, play, have fun. And still end up with an object in the end. Do you find that folks in your company are more engaged and actually look forward to these conversations, to these compliance conversations?
Like my experience is that I have changed many jobs. I've changed jobs many, many times. So in the very beginning, I've often find that the people, they are a little bit afraid. I wouldn't say afraid. They're not very engaged, right, with the legal compliance department. But once I've shown the human side and show that legal compliance can be thought of it in a different way, it's actually not as sophisticated or so cumbersome as you think it is. Like I can simplify the process or simplify the language a little bit. My phone rings a lot more. This is like from different jobs that I took up in the beginning. Yeah, people might not be calling me, but I often would do a very short training to the people, the key people, let's say the department heads, and then to their key staff that reports to them. And afterwards, they feel like, okay, actually, I can work with this lawyer here, and he is here to kind of not be at the roadblock, but be the facilitator. So, but the problem is I think it's with legal topics often, you can't really quantify it. It's really a feeling. But I really do feel that the phone rang a lot more and people open up to me a lot more after I show that side.
Yeah, I find being human first really helps. Mm-hmm. I think when people find you relatable, when they know there's 90%, 80% overlap because you both have families and kids and have a theater hobby on the side and read the same book. They just interacting with a human, they can get to know and build relationship. That makes such a huge difference, and makes it really hard for them, not to be engaged and kind of dismiss you. When you are in house, especially when you sort of leading a compliance department, reporting to somewhere in the office of general counsel, there's a sort of there's internal customers, there's end customers. That's kind of partially your audience, but then you also have, your legal department heads and ultimately the CLO, general counsel. Did you find that folks on your legal team embrace the idea of this sticky messages and gamification and high engagement and really kind of upping your game?
I have various experience because it really depends, like goes from individual to individual and what's driving that person. Because I've got some feedback saying that this is just a distraction. Like you should just stick to the code of conduct. You're just creating things that is maybe creating a little more confusion than doing good, than making it clear. But then I also have some very, very forgiving, or you can say more liberal or open-minded colleagues that do find that if you can do a little bit of soft selling, I would say, I would call it that. It's like you're not really reading it off the code of conduct and telling people you should do this, do that, and don't do this and don't do that. But you show some real life samples and then to kind of package it in a more relatable manner. Like people would definitely be more susceptible, right? And more, they understand the concept a little bit more. But like I said, I have to go back to the very beginning. I have to say it's 50-50. Like whether all the legal colleagues in the legal department agree with what I do or want to do a little bit more to put the crew in compliance, like I say. That's not a definite yes.
Okay, very interesting. And do you take certain steps to build actually kind of consensus on the legal team and get folks behind? Because that support from the Office of General Counsel is ultimately very important.
Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, like you have to be, you have to kind of toe the line, right? You have to kind of the message has to be uniform. But I think the delivery can be different, and because different culture, they would also be receptible for different things. So, but I think so long as you're not deviating from the central message, the Office of the General Counsel, I think it usually is okay. But then again, it also depends on how conservative the leader of the department is, because sometimes it's difficult to kind of convince to say, well, yeah, we're sticking to the same message, but our delivery message is different. That's also not very easy sometimes.
I want to ask you about a few more examples.
Sure.
Recently, you had this Hunch Collide sessions. You also had this various booth that I've seen on videos. Tell us about those efforts and kind of other examples that you've used to kind of drive the engagement, get interest in compliance, bring the cool to compliance, and make it a more interesting and engaging subject matter.
Well, you know what? Like I think I have to say, like this COVID experience had broadened my mind because, like you brought it up, the booth. I have had maybe so far since 2017, 4 to 5 booths, but it's not really drawing a lot of attention. Especially maybe in this neck of the woods, people tend to be a little bit more conservative. So I keep on thinking. So how do I up my game? Do I need to hire a guy pumping balloons and making balloon animals to really draw people? Because I thought that I've done all I can to make my booth as interesting as possible. It's still not drawing too many people. And then COVID hits, right? And then I use the internet and use LinkedIn and found all these like-minded people. And welcome
to the Geek Club, Stanley.
Yes, exactly. It was only through this because I was always thinking about the next booth, right? And instead of thinking about, hey, you can reach a much wider audience much quicker through LinkedIn, and I had to have a complete mindset change, and COVID kind of pushed that forward, and voila! And then I met you, and I met Tessa, and legal creative folks. And it's so amazing. I mean, I'm looking forward to doing a lot more co-creating. I mean, the reason why I set up the booth in the first place is try to get like-minded people to co-create. The whole purpose is really try to co-create, right? And then now with everybody's kind of go online, and then I think the opportunities are limitless. So I'm looking forward to a lot more crazy ideas to come up with. The booth now, I think it's kind of behind me.
Impactful ideas.
Exactly. Yeah, impactful ideas, sorry.
Impactful ideas that make
Impactful,
it different, that engage
Yes.
people, that make law and compliance fun. Because it is. Because I didn't go to law school because it was boring. I went to law school because it's an amazing place to be. It's highly impactful.
You got it. Correct.
What is the most kind of resistance you've had in sort of selling your ideas of making sticky messages of law and compliance, and maybe selling it to other departments? And most importantly, how do you overcome it? What has worked? I know there's sort of sometimes more conservative culture. Sometimes people just like, look, I just need your damn policy. Just give me the damn policy and move forward. Get out of my way, right? So how do you kind of deal with questions and resistance?
I think one key kind of big resistance that I faced before is that the person in charge wants not only the message, not only the let's say the key message, but the delivery method of the key message to be universal. And I think I have a little bit of difficulty with that, because I just feel like, hey, so long as I'm kind of reading the script, but how I read it, like, do I read it a little bit more like happier or sad, or a little bit more tearful, a little bit more emotional? That's another thing. But I think if the delivery method and the message needs to stick together, that's a tough sell. So hence, I have to say, sometimes White Hat Guys is an escape, because in White Hat Guys, I'm liberated. I can really promote my idea to like-minded people, because when they engage me or approach me, clearly that they are kind of interested in kind of my creativity. They also want to spice up or put the COOmpLiance in their program. So that way, I can maybe release some of the frustration, you can call it, and channel it that way. Because sometimes when the mind is set, it's very difficult to change. You can call me an escapist, but I did try, but not very successful.
Stanley, I know life is too short and the world is too big. You can always find like-minded people and really create something bigger than yourself. I went to a big public school for college and law school. And one of the things what I loved going to a big public school is that the universe seemed infinite. If I didn't like something or someone, I just got the street and found somebody I loved, and it like totally transformed my existence from 0 to 100 in the instance. So why not continue doing it throughout your career? I'm like a huge proponent of it. For every person that you don't like, there will be 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 that you will love, and you can build something bigger than yourself. But coming to the end, I have one question, and I'll ask you to give a parting message. Let's talk about kind of measuring or understanding. I know you said it's a little hard to quantify. I love numbers, full disclosure. I'm like a huge fan of numbers. Math was actually my favorite subject in high school. And for a minute, I was an engineer because I really like math. But I love measuring and kind of learning from that experience. Ultimately, compliance laws like have a purpose, and we really want to change people's behavior. We want to have an impact. How do you recommend to quantify it? Both, because I find that if I quantify something, I can make a better case internally, get more resources. I also kind of see opportunities to improve in the future. How do you really quantify that impact that the kind of the more hands-on physical objects, gamification of law and contract and compliance have on the organization?
In terms of putting up numbers and really being impactful with numbers. I remember one time, because there was a whole series of non-compliance within the organization. And the organization in that year lost about 2 million euros, close to, because of basically payouts. So I have to really bring that in, and I have to kind of tell the people that they were leaders in the room. We have to be consistent. First of all, if there's any non-compliance, we have to get rid of that individual. That's one thing. But the math behind it, you think it's like, that's easy. We can fire this person, terminate the contract. But a lot of times they forget to look at the actual financial impact. This person has cost for some of the fraudulent act. And I had to kind of bring it up and also include the legal cost in there. And now they finally realize, wow, it is important. I mean, there's a dollar sign to it if we're non-compliant. So it doesn't come up very often. And I know it's like a scare tactic, but yeah, sometimes scare tactics help. Like you kind of have to do that a little bit. You show them love, but you have to also scare them a little bit too. Fear and love kind of go hand in hand.
Love, carrots and sticks. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
We know all about it. Yeah. I'm with you. Stanley, we're coming to the end. I want to make what is 1, 2, or 3 or 5, whatever, pick a number. Things you want folks to take away from this very enlightening conversation, and I guess where they can find you.
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. So just type White Hat Guys. You definitely land on my page. Well, I guess as far as legal and compliance communication is concerned, I think it's definitely we can use it as an engagement tool because first of all, I think the threshold is relatively low because people are not expecting to be overwhelmed or to see a lot of fun in this. So maybe just a little bit something, like even like a loudspeaker, some stickers. You can definitely draw people and create sticky messages. And I think I'll leave with my slogan for White Hat Guys, right? This is the slogan. Put the COO in compliance. And right there, can you see it?
And I love, yes, I see it. And I love the slogan.
I should have put it on. Yeah. So, at any time, if you hit a stumble block, you want to create something to kind of revamp your compliance communication or just want a sounding board, I'm more than happy to Hunters Collide with you like-minded individuals.
Awesome. Stanley, had a great conversation with you. Thank you so much for joining my morning, your afternoon. I love to have this cross-ocean conversations.
Yes.
So cool. I used to go to Hong Kong all the time. I haven't been there in like a number of years. One day we will meet in person, I promise. But
sure.
This has been a wonderful conversation. I get really inspired every time I talk to Stanley. He is on LinkedIn. He's a wealth of information. I learn something from him every time. I love the message that, look, I mean, we didn't go to law school to spend our life in boredom. Law is fun and impactful, and you can absolutely practice it on top of your license and have fun doing it. If you really don't have everything you want in your job today, you can have a side project that gives you joy and really inspires you to show up to work and be your best lawyer self when you give legal advice. And most importantly, when you find yourself surrounded by people that are not quite your tribe, really go ahead and find your own tribe. That is what modern lawyers do, in-house lawyers do all the time. Definitely do that. Anyway, thank you for joining. We've had a lot of fun. If you have nominations of folks that I could talk to, definitely DM me and let me know. If you want to give me any feedback or give me anything, definitely, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Have a great day and definitely stay safe. And until next time, see you later. Bye, everyone.